Hi, my name is Cordy and I'm a racing driver, and hopefully I'll be in focus for this video. So you just listened to me playing Laura by a guy called David Ruskin. It's from a film from about 1944, I believe. And I listened to the theme music. There's quite a lot of different sort of parts of the music where this theme is played. In particular, I like the sound of it when it was played in sort of D major. So at one point in the theme it's played in this key of D major or G major. We start off on an E minor. I'm not going to break it down for you in that key because that's not the most common key that it's played in. As far as I can tell, people like to play it kind of in G quite a bit. So your first chord would be A minor. So that's... So let's just talk through where is basically home for everything. Hopefully if you liked the way that I was playing it, that's kind of how I think of jazz. I try to identify where is home for all of this stuff. I've said it before, but for me kind of jazz is about moving to and away from home and having new homes and new key centres essentially. My analysis goes as far as figuring out what the melody is, so that's step one. Step two is to apply the harmony, which for me came from listening to the theme music and listening to what was implied and some of the inner voice movements, so like that. That kind of thing. But we'll just look at the suggested kind of key and a transcription of it and talk about where is home for each of it. So we start off with this. So hopefully if you're not totally new to jazz, you'll recognise that movement, and that's your 2-5-1. And we get another one. Three 2-5-1s moving, and basically we start off with in G major with an A minor, and then that G major becomes a G minor, so effectively we're on the 2 of F major. And then we do that same thing again. We're going to start with an F minor. So we're in E flat major. So if you heard what was going on there, we've got this. Which is actually also what happens in How High the Moon, basically. So it's a relatively common thing in jazz, but your 2-5-1, you can then make that 1 then 2 of the next key. We've got an A7 flat 9, which can also be interpreted as a diminished chord, and then a D7 flat 9, and then we end up in G major. So I treat the A7 flat 9 as a diminished, but then I'm treating the D7 flat 9 as like an altered approach to our G major 7. And then we're back to the start. This time on the F minor, where we before resolved to an E flat major, we resolve up to C major. Which effectively, I'm implying that we're on the 5 of E minor. That's how I was treating that, so you could play a B7 over that part. So what's written is not quite what I interpreted from the listen to the Axel soundtrack. Instead of what's written on the sheet music, I think it goes up to a B in first inversion. So I'm treating that as the 5 of an E minor. So you could use either harmonic minor or melodic minor there. And then resolving back to a simple 2-5-1 in C. So I don't think it's terribly complicated, this one, but it does take quite a bit of practice to get those changes sort of in your head, but I think it's a nice pretty one. So there's nothing really terribly complicated in this one, it's just a lot of 2-5-1s and then identifying where you're actually resolving. So we've got this normal 2-5-1 activity in G, then in F, then in E flat, and then this kind of diminished activity, and then resolving to G, and then again, same 2-5-1 in G, 2-5-1 in F, then sort of interrupted 2-5 to C major, and then up to this basically just 2-5-1s, then resolving into G major, some 2-5-1s, resolving into C major, and then this touching into the E minor, and then back to C major. So that's my take on Laura. If you were practicing it, taking through arpeggios would probably be a good strategy. Also bear in mind that those 2-5-1s, each of the 5s is quite an altered kind of sound, so you might want to consider some altered language over that stuff. But that's just my take on Laura. If you wanted the backing track, that'll be available on Patreon for the way that I've played it. But it's worth bearing in mind that you'll have to sort of transpose some stuff. And I guess this is a good exercise if you've got sheets written in whatever key and you're actually relying on sheets. It's worth being able to kind of do some homework to mix them round and play it in different keys to what is written. If you are relying on sheet music, then quite often this is something that you might have to do on the fly, so it's worth practicing. Hopefully this was vaguely useful. That's my take on Laura. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you got anything useful out of this video, you could use the Buy Me a Coffee link, but make sure you leave a comment in there telling me something that I could do for you. If you do that, only use it if you can afford it, but that'd be super helpful. Patreon, I'll put the backing track for this up, and let me know in the comments if you've got other jazz tunes you want me to look at. I'm on a kind of a thing. Mike Marino's been doing some standards from films, and Laura was actually one of the ones that he did. I've not actually looked at it yet, but I really like this tune, so I'm going to do some more of this sort of thing, and hopefully that's useful. Thank you for stopping by. Cheers!